Hello everyone. Can you please confirm if you can hear me now? This is Ankit Jain. I welcome you all to my channel Take Journey with Ankit. Today is day 25 of our LWC Bootcamp. In today's session, we will explore how we can create a generic custom lookup component. Okay, in today's session, we will discuss how we can create our own generic custom lookup component with the help of LWC. There will be different learnings from this mini project. You will understand how you can pass the parameters by using the wire decorator to the Apex classes. You will also understand what is reactive parameters in the wire decorator. You will also understand what is the concept of debouncing in the LWC. Moreover, you will also understand how we can write down the generic Apex class here. Okay, so let's get started. Before we get started, a quick intro about me. My name is Ankit Jain. I do have more than 10 years of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem, where I got an opportunity to work on the different clouds, including the sales, service, CPQ, billing, as well as on the financial service cloud. Moreover, I do have my expertise on the LWC as well as on the integration. In case you folks likes to connect with me, these are the different channels which are available. You can also connect with me over the YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as on the Telegram. You will get the links of all these channels in the video description. Now let's get started with our mini project, that is the generic custom lookup. First, I will show you how our output will come up, and after that, I will show you step by step how we can achieve that output. So at the end of the project, what we will be developing is this generic component. This is the one component. I am using the same component to do the search on the account. I am using the same component to perform the search on the contact. For example, here I go and search for all the accounts. Here I go and search for all the contact. Here it is showing me only the contacts. We are also populating the icons dynamically. We will be populating this label dynamically. Everything will be configured in our LWC component. Okay, so let's get started with all the step-by-step process how we can get this done. So the first thing that we have to do here is we have to go and work on the Apex class. There are two parameters that we will require in the Apex class. First parameter is the search, what user is performing the search. For example, let's say here I am performing the search. So what I have to do here is I have to convert this search with the while character, like I have to use this with the like operator to perform the while search. And another parameter that I required in my Apex class is the object in which I have to perform the search here. So the first thing that I will be doing here is I will be creating an Apex class. After that, we will invoke this Apex class from the Lightning Web Component. Again, to do that, let me do here the Control Shift P. I am creating the Apex class and naming the Apex class here as custom lookup controller. We already discussed about the Apex class when that needs to be invoked from the Lightning Web Component, and specifically with the wire decorator, that class needs to be aura enabled. We have to specify the cacheable equal to true, right? And after that, my class modifier must be public, my class must be static. Again, return type can be anything. As we are developing the generic class here, I am putting here the return type as list of S object. S object can be anything. It can be a standard object or can be a custom object. This S object is kind of nothing but a generic object available in the Salesforce. And let me put here the method name here as search records. Okay, as I said, my method will accept two things. First one is the object API name. You can give any parameter name, that's completely fine. So here I am giving the parameter name as an object API name, and second parameter name that I am giving here as a search key. Okay, now uh, let me go and write down the logic to get those record. So the first thing that I have to check here is I want the record should be written only and only when user is starting searching here. Unless the user is not searching, I don't want to return the record. So the first thing that I am doing here is here I am checking whether my string is blank or not. Here I am checking whether my string is blank or not. So for that I am using the method string is not blank, and here I am checking for this search key. In case my string is not blank, then I am preparing my key here, and my, as I said, we have to use the like operator to perform the search. So to use the like operator, we have to append these wild characters here, that is nothing but the percent plus search key plus percent. So this will be the key that I'll be using for the search. Now the next thing that I have to do here is I have to go and perform the generic search here. So to perform the generic search, what I have to do here is I have to use the dynamic query. I hope you guys know how to write down the dynamic query in the SOCL. Kindly let me know in the comment section. Those who does not know, I've started writing down the dynamic query with the help of SOQL. What I am doing here is I am defining here my query string. I'm just preparing the query string here. So let's say I want to search for the select ID, comma name. These two columns are common irrespective of the standard object or the custom object. So that's why I'm taking these two columns here, and from whatever the object API name that we are getting, in that object API name we have to perform the search. So here I am putting the plus object API name, right? Followed by the uh, where now I have to search for the matching record. So I will go and search for the name. So I am putting your name like this key. Whatever the key that we have prepared, I am looking the records with this key. Okay. Now my query is ready with all the input parameters that we do have. Now the next thing that I have to do here is I have to go and execute this query. To execute the dynamic SOQL, we do have the one method that is the database dot query method. And in this query, we have to pass the query string. Second parameter, as I mentioned yesterday, whenever we are working with the Apex, we have to take care of the security. So here I go and take care of the security by specifying the user mode, so that my query will be executing in the user mode. It will only return those records for which user do have the access. Right now I have to return those records. So let me go and declare one generic list here. So here I go and put the as object list is equal to new of list of s object, right? So whatever the result that I am getting, I am storing that result in the s object list. And in the end, what I am doing here is I am returning this s object list here. I'm returning this as object list. That's the only thing we have to do in the Apex end. So at the Apex end, we are taking the two parameters. Accordingly, we are preparing our query. And once the query is formed, we are making the query with the help of database.query method. Whatever the results that we are getting, we are storing that result and returning the value. Let me go and deploy this Apex class. And now I am creating my Lightning Web Component. So here I go and name my Lightning Web Component as the generic, or let me put here is a custom lookup. Okay, so what I have to do in my custom lookup, I have to make a call to this Apex method. So that's the first thing that I will do. I will make a call to my custom lookup here. So for here I have to go and do that. So first we have to go and import this method. Yesterday only we discussed this. So I am importing the search record from salesforce slash apex slash my class name here is the custom account lookup controller followed by the search record. Now I have to make a call to this method with the help of wire decorator. So here I go and specify the wire decorator as well. Okay, now to make this call, I am using the wire decorator. So here I go and use the wire decorator at the rate wire, right? And followed by the method name. So what is my method name here that I have imported? That is the search record. But this time we have to pass the parameters as well. So whenever we have to pass the parameter with the wire decorator, we will always pass the parameter in the object. We will always pass the parameters in the object. So there are two methods there are two parameters that my method is accepting. Search record. First is the object API name. So here I go and specify the object API name as the first parameter, and second parameter that my method is expecting is the search key. Here we have to make sure that we are using the exact case, whatever the case that we have put in the Apex class. You cannot change the case whenever you are calling the methods with the parameter. You have to use the exact case that you have defined in your Apex method. That's what I am doing. I am calling this method here with two different parameters. And now whatever the results that I am getting, I am storing that result. Let's say here I am putting the result as uh, output. Let me go and put the result here as output. Whatever the search record result that I am getting, I am storing this result in this variable that is the output variable. Right? Nothing different. Yesterday only we have learned how to call the wire method with the how to call the Apex method with the wire decorator. Only additional thing that I have done here is I have passed here two parameters. Now I want these two parameters to be passed to my Apex method, and I want the class properties to be passed. So let me go and define the two parameter here. First parameter I am giving the name as an API name, and second parameter I am giving the name here as the uh, search value. These are the two names that I am giving. So what I want here is I want my wire method to be called when as soon as the values are available in this variable, or I want my wire method should be called as soon as the search value is changed. So there are two scenarios when I want my wire method to be called. First one, as we all know, wire method will be automatically called by the framework, and it will be called whenever the component is loading. That's what we discussed yesterday. Now, another additional point that I am adding here is your wire method will also be called in case the parameters values are changing. Your wire method will be again be called as soon as the parameters values are changing. And for that, we have to define the reactive parameters here. For that, we have to go and define the reactive parameters here. So to define the reactive parameter, we have to use the dollar symbol followed by the variable that we say it is reactive. So what will happen as soon as the API name is changing, my wire method will be called. Another thing here is as soon as the search value is changing, again my wire method will be called. So whenever anything is changing, what will happen? My wire method will call and it will fetch the updated records for me. Right? As soon as any value is changing, my wire method is called and it is fetching the updated value for me. Like here, for example, here if I go and type A, you can see as soon as I type A, my wire method is getting called and I am getting this many records. Now if I type N, what is happening? Again, my wire method is getting called and I am only getting two records. So why my wire method is getting called again and again and fetching me the records? Because of this reactivity. Because of this reactivity. To make the variables reactive, you have to use the dollar symbol here. Right? Let me check if we do have any questions as of now. Okay, I'm getting said that we have to check the query string, select ID name from object API name, where the name like, I believe it is correct. Shirisha, you found any issue in this query string? Let me know in the comment section. I believe it, for me, it looks good. Again, we will find out during the debugging in case there are any errors. Okay, so everything is good. We are making the call and we are also capturing the output here, right? Or just to check the output, what I am doing here is that's what the developers do, because with the property it is bit challenging to check the output. I'm not saying it is not possible, but definitely it's challenging. So what we have to do here is I am putting here the output function, and here I am putting that if data console.log data else if error, that means console.log error. Okay, and for the time being I'm populating the default value here. Let's say I'm populating the API name as an account and the search value as, for example, A. Definitely this value will be changing down the line, but just to make a call and test my functionality, this is what I am doing here, just to make sure that my apex method is working as expected and we are getting the correct result. We will go slowly, but we will make sure that we will finish this on time. Okay, so now let's go and expose this component. So here I go and expose this component. To do that, I'm navigating here, putting the value as true, defining the targets, putting the target here as an app page, and let me go and deploy this. Meanwhile, I will go to my org, navigate to the LWC overview and navigating to the edit page here. I will do this is also compiled successfully. So let's go and add this component here. It's taking a bit time for loading. Okay, we got this here. Now let me go and add the component. So our component name here is custom lookup. Let me remove all these components from here. I'm just dragging and dropping this component, clicking on save and go back. Let's go and check whether we are getting the data or not. In case not, we will see what kind of errors that we are getting. So here I go, click on inspect, navigating to the console, and here you can see we are getting the 10 records. If I am not wrong, yes, we are getting the 10 records for the entered value, right? That means till now our apex class is working as expected and our wire decorator is also calling the method correctly. Okay, now we don't need this kind of a function. I just use this for to check the output. As I don't have to modify the data, I am again going back with my output property. Okay, now the next thing that we have to do here is, now we are getting the record, but this time now we have to go and make some changes in our HTML file. So to design the custom lookup, what I am doing here is I'm navigating to the SLDS. Here, if I go and search for the lookup, I am getting the CSS provided by the Salesforce to design the lookup. So here I go and open the lookup component from the SLDS. You can see there are too many examples available here. Now, the kind of example that I am looking for, if I scroll down, I am looking for this kind of a lookup where whenever I go, it should highlight my search. So that is the first thing that I am looking for. This one or this one, anyone will be fine. Displaying options based on the input, this one is also fine, or this one is also fine. So we are okay with both. And another thing that I am looking for here is, as soon as I am selecting the option, I want the output should come something like this. So we have to use here the combination of two different SLDS example. First one, we have to use the this one where we should get the where we should go and get the number of records, and after that we will also go and put it here how the output should come up on the UI. So for the time being, as we don't have to display the output for now, what I am doing here is I'm simply copying this CSS, where when I go and hover over it, it will highlight what all different items that we have to display. So what I am doing here is I am simply copying the complete code from here without making any change and navigating back to my HTML file. The reason I'm also taking this example because I want you folks to get more comfortable with the SLDS classes provided by the Salesforce. Okay, so we will try to do the minimum changes in this HTML file. Definitely we have to do, but we will keep it bare minimum. Now the first thing here that you see here, that we do have the relate to. Now what is relate to? If I again check this example, relate to is nothing but the label. In my example, I want the label should be generic. So here I navigate back to my CSS file and here I go and define the object. Sorry, let me go and put here object label, and for the time being I am putting the object label here as an account. Now this is the label that I want to use in my component. So again I navigate back to my HTML file and here I go and put the object label. Okay, now if I scroll down further, you can see what we do have here is this SVG. So I don't want to use the SVG. Rather than I go and use the SVG here, because definitely there will be too much additional coding that we have to do in the LWC to use this SVG. Like we have to import this as a static resource and then we have to work on it. Rather than I go and avoid all this stuff, what I am doing here is I want to replace this SVG with the lightning icon. So again, if I go to the component library here I do have one standard component provided by the Salesforce that is nothing but the lightning icon. Rather than I go and use the icon from the SVG, I want to use the lightning icon here. So I'm just using the standard component provided by the Salesforce. So here I go and copy this lightning icon from here, and sorry, let me navigate back to my example. So for the time being, I'm not deleting anything. We will go and do the delete part later. I'm just commenting this code and pasting my lightning icon here. Now let's go and try to understand this SVG icon. What they are saying here is they are saying that the size of the icon should be extra small. I'm just reading the logic what they have put in the CSS. What they are saying here is the size of the icon should be extra small. So again, if you go to this documentation, here you do have one attribute called sizes. And in the sizes attribute, you can specify what should be the size of the icon. So as they are saying that the size should be extra small, here I am adding the size attribute. You can check the attribute in the specification as well. You can see we do have the size attribute here with these different values. So I am just using the size attribute here, and here I am passing the value as an extra small. Title, again they are not putting any title, so I don't want title. I am just taking this out. I don't want any alternative text as well. I am taking that out too. Now the next thing here is what kind of icon that they are using. They are using the utility icon with the name as search. So here what I am doing here is whatever they are using, I'm just putting the exactly same thing. I also want to use the utility followed by the search. That's it. I'm not doing any additional coding. I have just commented the SVG part, and after that I am using the lightning icon here. Now, so this is the only part where I am taking the input. So first I do have the label. After that I am taking the inputs. So let me go and minimize and check till where we are taking the inputs. Till here we are taking the input. And after that, what they are doing here is they are displaying the options here. Now these options we don't need the hard code options. What we required here is the dynamic options, right? So what we will do here is rather than we go and hard code options here, we will go and change this with the dynamic option. We are already storing the output in the accounts variable. Now what we have to do here is we have to use this account variable and display the output. So to do that, what I am doing here is here I go and use the drop down. Here I go and display the drop down. So to display the drop down, again here we have to deal with more than one values. We already discussed in our previous session. Whenever we have to deal with more than one value, what we do, we always go for the template for each. So here again I am doing the same thing, because here if you see, this is the first option, this is the second option, and this is the third option that they are displaying, right? Again, if I go here, you can see we do have these three options. These three options are nothing but these three different lightning item. Here I want to perform the repetition rather than I go and do it manually. I want these values to be populated dynamically, and for that I am removing the two list items from here. So again I go and delete. Now I am keeping the one list item, and I want this list item should go and populate the dynamic values rather than populating the hard code values. So what I am doing here is, here I go and put the template for each. What I want to iterate here, where we are storing our output, we are storing our output in the outputs variable. So here I am using the outputs variable, and here I say for each item, that is nothing but the output. Sorry, right? I want this loop should be repeated. So where my template should end here, as soon as all the list items are rendered, then and then only we should go and end the template. So here I am ending the template. One more thing that we learned when we understood the for each, that whenever we are using the for each, we have to immediately use the key. So here I go and define the key as well. So for me, the key is nothing but the output dot id. Key is nothing but the output dot id. Now let's go and try to expand this and try to understand what all the different things that we do have here. Now here, what they are displaying here is the icon name. You can see here, again we do have the icon name here, and followed by the account name. We do have the icon name and followed by the account name. Again, we will follow the same thing what we have done previously, but this time we have to display this icon name again dynamically. For example, for the account, we have to display the account icon name. For the contact, we have to display the contact icon name. So what I am doing here is I am defining again another property here, and I am putting that property name as the icon name. And here I go and put the default value for the icon for now is the standard. We already discussed in previous session how to get the icon name. You just have to navigate to the SLDS and search for the icons. You will get all these icon names here. I am using just one of the icon name for the account, that is nothing but the standard account. Now coming back to my HTML file again. Now here again I don't want to use this SVG. Right? So again, I am commenting this SVG from here. What I want to use here is my lightning icon. So here again, I go and put the lightning icon. Now again, here what kind of size that they are looking for? They are looking for here the size as again small. So here I go and put the size is equal to small. The next thing that they are asking here is the icon name. The icon name here you can see here is a standard account, but here we are to use the generic one. So here I go and specify the icon LIGHT. Let me check what is the parameter for the icon name. Just now we have used above, or what we can do here is we can check it out here itself. We have to use the, let me copy this here. I'm not sure if the syntax for the lightning icon is also wrong. So let me copy this from here, and here I go and put the icon name. Here I want to use the icon name as the property that we have defined here, that is nothing but the icon name property. So let me go and remove this and put this property here as the icon name. Okay. And after that, again, if I scroll down here, coming to the names part, here, we don't want to show the hard coded name. We have to show the account name. So already we are storing the output here. So here I do have the output, and from the output I can display the name. So again, I'm taking this out from here, and what I am populating here is the output dot name. Right? And then here we have to show the, Again the same label that we do have here, so that is nothing but the object label. So again I go here and displaying here the object label. Okay, so whatever the names that we are getting, we are displaying this name. But another thing that we have to take care here is, now here if you see in the SLDS, every time this output is coming up, we don't want every time this output should come up. We want this output list should come up only and only when we are getting any records from the server. So what we have to do here is, here we have to go and put the condition that this section should be visible only and only when we are getting the records from the server. So how we can do that? So here I go and first put the template if. Whenever we have to do the conditional rendering, we always go for the template if else if. So here I want this else if should be displayed after this. I want this section to be displayed only and only when this condition is true. So here I go and put the condition here as show output. Okay, now this show output, I want to define this as the getter method. So here again I navigate back to my JavaScript file, and here I go and define the getter method as the show output. What this method will check? This method will check whether in the output we do have any data. In case we do have any data, then and then only we should go and display that data. Otherwise, we should not display the output. That's what we have to check here. So what I am checking here is, that is return this dot outputs dot data. Yesterday we discussed that whenever we are working with the wire decorator and we are dealing with the property, we all the output in the dot data, and in case we are getting any error, then the error will be in the output error, right? So what I am checking here is, in case we are getting any data, then and then only we should go and show the output. Otherwise we should not show the output, right? So this dot outputs dot data, or okay, then we go and check this outputs dot data here. Let's not do this for now. We will do this at a later stage. First, let's go and deploy this and check what kind of output that we are getting. So one thing that I missed here is in the, let me go and comment this out for now. Remove this for now. I just want to check how the output is coming up before I go and take the next step. Here, I don't have to iterate over the outputs. We have to go and iterate over here the outputs dot data, because we are dealing with the property. Let me go and deploy this and check how the output is coming up. As of now, we have put the static value there as the A, and for the A, we should get all those records. Let me go and deploy this. There might be few classes that we have to delete, right? So here you can see we are getting the first error message as autocomplete is off on line number 27. Here it is not following the correct case. That's why we are getting this error. I'm just removing that out. Apart from that, everything else looks good. So let me go and try to deploy this again. We are getting another error. That another error is at line number 52. It says that they have put some placeholder. So we don't need this placeholder. So I'm deleting it. Clicking on deploy. This time out component is deployed successfully. Let's go and refresh it and check what kind of output that we are getting this time. So you can see as we only have the value as 1 there, we are getting this output here. We have hard coded our search string, right? We will see how we can take out this hard coding in a while, but you can see that our output is coming as expected. We are getting the section to enter the input, and we do have this output as well. But by default, this output is coming up. What we want here is this kind of output should come up only and only when nothing is selected here, right? And in case some value is selected here, then we don't want to show the output. Currently, we do have the value available in the search value, right? And that's why we are having this output. So we will see how we can hide that later, but for the time being we will keep this open. There's another thing that we want to discuss now here is, now we don't want to use this hard code value. Now I don't want to use this hard code value. Rather than this hard code value, I want this value to be populated dynamically now. So that is the next stage that we have to work on. Before I go there, let me check if we do have any questions in the chat box. Okay, there is a one question from Shrisha. Sir, are there any limitation on the number of records shown in the UI? Again, there is no such limitation, Shrisha, but the Salesforce do recommend that at a time we should not show more than 50 records on a UI. That is the kind of a normal standard that Salesforce generally follow. If you go and open any standard list view in the Salesforce, you will see that at a time Salesforce only loading 50 records on the UI. And for the better performance, that is the recommendation from the Salesforce. But there is no limitation. You can populate as many records as you want. But generally people follow the practice in the lookups. They generally populate 5 or 10 records maximum because they want to give the more unified output to the end user. Okay. Now, I do have another question. What if we don't use ampersand on the API name property? What will happen? Again, for in my scenario, I have to make it a more generic component, right? Definitely in case you do have this static value, you don't have to pass this. But in my scenario, down the line, you will see that I am populating the API name from the app builder, right? In such scenarios, it is mandatory to use this dollar symbol and to make it more reactive. There's the next question from Madhu Mohan. Will you show the same thing using data table? When we go and discuss about the data table, Madhu, that time definitely I'll be covering this. But for today, I'll not be covering how we can display the output in the data table. Yesterday only we discussed how we can display the output in the data table whenever we are getting the output from the wire decorator. But today I'll be more focused on the lookup component. Okay. Now moving towards the next part, as I said, now we have to go and dynamically accept the input here. Now again, I navigate back to my HTML file. In my HTML file, here they are using this input to pass the input, right? Now what we have to do here is we have to go and read the input here. As of now, whenever any change in the input, we use the lightning input, and whenever there is any change in the input, we use the on change method here. But here in this example, I am not using the on change method. The reason I am not using here is because the way on change method works here is as soon as the focus is removed from the input component, then and then only the search will happen here. In my scenario, I want the search to be happened without even removing the focus. That's why rather than I go and use the on search event, on change event here, here I will be using another event that is nothing but the on key up event. Again, I am repeating, rather than I go and use the on change event here, here I will be using the on key up event. So here I go and put the on key up, and here I go and define the handler as the change handler. Now, as soon as user press the key, right, this event will fire. So you can see here, as soon as the key is released, this event will fire, because I want for every key, event should fire and I should go and get the records. Okay, so for that I am navigating back to my change handler now. Now here I want you guys to pay a close attention the way I am defining, the way I am writing this change handler. Okay, the way I am writing this change handler, I want you to be guys more focused on here. So let me navigate to the JavaScript file. Let me take this out for now. And here I am putting this change handler where we do have this event. Right now, as of now, what we used to do here is we get the value from the event dot target dot value. Right, we have done this multiple times in our previous session, and we directly populate the value in the this dot search value. Right, we have done this multiple times. In case I do this, what will happen? In this example also, if I do this, what will happen? So for example, as soon as we are getting some key or some value entered by the user, this will execute, my change handler will execute, new value will be populated here. And as soon as the new value is populated, my wire decorator will be called again and we will be getting the output. So what is happening here is we are getting our Apex method is getting called for each and every input of the user. You can see that for every input we are hitting the Salesforce server, getting the response. For every input we are hitting the Salesforce server and getting the response. This is not the good practice, right? This is not the good practice. So whenever you are defining this type of a reactive variable, you have to be very much sure that your Apex method is not getting called frequently. The way we can handle this is referred as the debouncing in the JavaScript. The way we will handle this is referred as the debouncing in the JavaScript. Now what is debouncing? Debouncing means do not update the reactive property as long as this function is being called within a delay. So what we'll do in the debouncing here is rather than we go and immediately call the Apex method, we will add some delay here. What we will do? We will add some delay. We will wait till the user is entering some more key, and as soon as all the keys has been entered, right? Then we go and make the call. We will put some delay, intentional delay to delay the server call. So for example, let's say a user is typing 1, 2, 3 keys at a time, then we'll put some delay. Let's say we are putting the delay of 300 milliseconds or 500 milliseconds. It's completely up to you how much delay you want to put. So what we will do here is we will hold for the delay, and once the delay is done, then and then only we will make a call to the Apex method. So the first thing that I am doing up here is I am adding the delay. So let me go and put here the delay. Generally we follow the practice in the LWC. We define all the constants with the capital case, and we've defined the constants before the export. Here I am adding the delay of 300 milliseconds. So every time before making the server call, my function will check if we are getting the inputs in 3 seconds, and then only it will make the server call. Okay. Now how to perform the debouncing here? If you guys can recall, we have studied one method in the JavaScript, that is the set time out. We have studied one method in the JavaScript, that is the set time out. Right? So we will be using this set timeout method to perform the debouncing. Let's see how we will do that. So to do that, here I am using the function that is the set timeout. What the set timeout will accept? It will accept two things. First is the callback function, and second is the delay. Second is the delay. So what will happen? After this delay, this function will be automatically called. After this delay, this function will be automatically called. Now what we are saying here is rather than the value that we are getting from the user, rather than we go and directly assign this value to the class member variable, because if I directly go and assign it here, my Apex method will be called. So I am assigning this value to a constant variable or to a temporary variable. Let's say here I am putting here the variable name as entered value. I am putting this variable name as the entered value. And after the delay has been done, after all the delay has been done, then and then only I will go and display the output. After the delay has been done, then and then only I will go and display the output. So here I go and display the output now. So here I go and put the set timeout, and after the delay I will go and populate this search value here. So here I go and populate this dot search value is equal to whatever the value that user have entered. So whenever we do this kind of a coding, it is referred as the debouncing. It is referred as the debouncing. Now the next thing that I am doing up here is I am storing the timeout, the set timeout output into one of the property here because I have to go and reset that property again and again. The user is entering the value from the last enter of the user. Again, I have to add the delay. So to do that, I am storing this into one of the property. Let me go and define this as the delay timeout. And here I go and put the this dot delay timeout. Here I go and put the this dot delay timeout. So whatever the output that we are getting here, we are storing that output in the this dot delay timeout. Now, as soon as this method has been called, the first thing that we will do here is we will go and clear the timeout. So here I go and use the clear timeout. We have already discussed all these methods in our JavaScript session, how to set the timeout and how to clear the timeout as well. Right? I recommend you guys to go over that video one more time, how we can work with the set timeout as well as the set time interval. So what I am doing here is whatever the timeout that I have stored last time, I am clearing the timeout. Again, I am getting the value. I am waiting for the delay. And as soon as the delay has been done, I am again making my apex call. So whenever we do this kind of a coding, it is referred as the debouncing in the JavaScript. Fahad Ali have one question. What is the difference between the on key up and the on change event? The difference here is in the on change event, it will be invoked as soon as your component loses the focus. Here, you have to make a note that we are not using the standard lightning input. We are using here the input from the basic HTML. And in basic HTML, the way on change event works here is as soon as it loses the focus, then and then only the change handler will be called. Like you have to either press the tab or you have to press the enter or you have to click outside, then and then only the change handler will be called. In my scenario, I want the change handler to be called as soon as the key is released, and that's why I am going here for the on key up. So what the on key up will do, on key up will execute as soon as the key is released. Madhu Mohan have another question. For delay, why we are not using the set interval method? So Madhu, the reason we are not using it here is because set interval method, it will be called again and again after the specific interval. We don't have to call this method again and again. We have to call this method till when the user is entering the value. That's why we are using here the set timeout to perform the debouncing. Okay, now we got this output here and we are making this apex call, and I hope everything is working as expected. Let's go and deploy this and check the output whether we are getting the expected result or not. So here I go and deploy this. Let me go and refresh it. Okay, we are not getting anything because initial value is blank, and for the blank we are not returning anything, but you can see we are still getting this kind of a boundary. We will see how we can take this out later, but for the time being I am just started typing the input. You can see if I type A, I am getting the record. If I am typing AN, again I am getting the specific record. That means my lookup functionality is working as expected here. Whatever the records that I am searching, I am only getting those records here. I am not getting any other additional record. Okay. Now the next thing that I have to do here is as soon as user go and select the record. For example, here if I go and select this record, then I have to set this record here, right? Then only the lookup will work. This is how the lookup work when we work on the standard component. As soon as I go and select the record, what will happen? My selected value should come up here. So we have to do the same thing in our component as well. So what we have to do here is as soon as user clicked on this button, we have to go and populate the selected value. So how we can do that? How we can first identify which records that user have selected? First we have to figure it out. We have to go and identify which record user have selected here. And to do that, again we will use the on click event. So as soon as If the user clicked on any of this, then with the help of onClick event, we have to figure it out on which record the user have selected. And once we got the record that user have selected, then we will go and display that record on the UI. So let's go and do that as well. So for that, again, I'm navigating back to my HTML file. Uh, so what I am doing here is in this div, I go and define the onClick event, because as soon as user clicked on this division, then and then only I have to go and select the record. So what I am doing here is I am defining here the onClick event. Just give me a minute. Right. So here I go and define the onClick event, and here I go and put the event name as the click handler. Now the next thing that I have to go and identify which record that user have selected. So for that I am again using the data attribute like we have done in the previous examples as well. I am using here the data attribute as the data item, and here I am populating the output ID, because my output ID will be the unique based on which I can identify the record that user have selected. So here I go and define the click handler method in my JavaScript file. Now in this click handler, the first thing that I have to do here is I have to go and figure it out which record user have selected. So for that, we have to use here the event dot uh, current target dot data set, because from the data set we have to read the value, and that's why I'm using here the event dot current target dot data set dot item, and let me store this id into one of the record, that is the selected id. Okay, again I'm not doing any additional coding for now. I will just go and check whether I am getting this selected record or not. So here I go and put the selected id comma selected id. Once I got the selected record, then it is very simple for me to work on the additional things. So let me go and refresh this again. Let me go and open this, clearing the console. Right, let's say a, and I am getting this many record. For example, I am selecting this record. You can see I am getting the record ID. If I am clicking on this record, I am getting another record ID here. Right? If I am clicking on this record, I am getting another record ID. So what in case I go and click on the different records, I am getting that record ID. Now based on this record ID, we have to get the complete record. So let me go and put here the let output record. So based on the ID, we have to get that record. We already have the records available in our outputs property. So from here, I go and find out that record. So here I go and put this dot outputs dot data dot find current item, and here I am putting that current item dot ID is equal to the selected ID. Whatever the record that user have selected, I am just populating here the selected record. Now I want to store this selected record because I have to display that record on my combo box here. So I will go and store this record again in a one of the object. So here I go and define one object, and let me put here the selected record, and here I go and define two property. First is the selected ID, and second one is the selected name. Sorry, it should be colon, because this we are dealing with the object, and I'm initializing both of them with the blank. Okay, so whatever the records that we are getting, I'm just populating that record in the selected record here. So what I will do here is, here I go and populate both of this property. So this dot selected record is equal to, again, selected ID. We do get the ID from the output record directly now, is equal to output record dot ID, and followed by the selected name as the output record dot name. Okay, so this is the record that I am selecting here. I hope it is make sense to everyone. Now, what I want to do here is, as soon as the record is selected, I want to close this dialog box. So initially also this dialog box should be closed. Again, after I get some output, again this dialog box should come up. But as soon as I selected the record, then this dialog box should also get closed. So again, to drive this, I am declaring one variable. Let's say here I am naming the variable here as display options, and I am naming this as the false. Okay, so what I am saying here is, as soon as I got some output, I will go and display the options here. So what I will do here is, as soon as I am performing the search and I am getting the output, ideally we should do this in the output function, but for the time being I'm just doing it here. Let me go and put here the display options is equal to true. So as soon as the search has been done and our search value has been done and we are supposed to get the output, I am displaying here the display options as true. Okay, and similarly, as soon as any record is selected, again I am hiding that. So here I go and put the this dot display options as false. Okay, now here I go and display the options only and only when I am getting something in the output. So let me go up, and here I am using the template LWC if display this whenever the display option is true. Otherwise, I don't want these things should be displayed. Right? Let me go and check if we do have any question before I move further. Good. So there are no questions. So that's what I am doing. I am displaying these options whenever the user is searching. As soon as user have selected the value, I am making this value as false, and I am hiding all the options from there. Now the next thing that I have to do here is, I have to go and as soon as I go and close the dialog box, the next thing that I have to do here is, I have to go and set that value in the combo box. I have to get that values in the combo box. So what I will do here is, to get that values in the combo box, again we will go here in the lookup, and now we need this type of combo box where the value is set, where we do have the icon on the left hand side, where we do have this cancel button on the right hand side. So again I am expanding this code, but this time I am only copying this section. I am not copying the complete code. But before I go and do that, when I want to display this, as soon as user have selected the value, when I want to display this, as soon as user have selected the value, I don't want to display this whenever there are no values. But as soon as user have selected the value, I want to display this. So what I have to do here is, again here I have to go and add the condition that this should be displayed whenever this should be displayed. Let me put up here display when value is selected, right? And this should be displayed whenever the value is not selected. So template LWC else. So this should be displayed when the value is not selected. Now how we can check whether the value is selected or not? So let me put here is record selected. Okay, so this is the getter function that I will go and write here. So here I go and put the getter function. Let me put it here on the top. Get is record selected. So here I will go and check if the record is selected. In case the answer is yes, then I will go and display that otherwise I will go and hide it. So here I go and put return this dot selected record dot selected ID. In case this value is blank, then we will say that the record is not selected and we have to show the current combo box. Otherwise we will say that the record is selected, we have to go and hide it, right? And we have to show the another combo box that we will copy in a minute. Okay, so with the help of this getter function we can make that decision. Now whatever the code that we will copy here, we have to go and put that code here. So again I'll navigate here, and from here I am taking this. Let me check till where we do have the SLDS combo box, we do have the drop down trigger, so we have to get this from here, and it is getting closed. This div is getting closed here, so we have to copy this complete code from here. So again I am just copying this complete code from here and putting it here. Okay, now let's try to read this code. What we are doing in this code, again what we are doing here is we are again displaying the icon. So we have to take out this icon. So again I am commenting this and I am using the same lightning icon, ligst lightning icon. Again, what should be the size for the lightning icon here? My size should be small, so here I go and define the size is equal to small. And what should be the icon name here? Icon name here, again it should be the dynamic icon name. So again I go and put here icon name is equal to the icon name that we do have here, that is the dynamic icon name. So I'm just replacing this SVG with the standard component here, that is the lightning icon. Rest of the things I'm not disturbing. Similarly here it looks good, whatever the value. Now here, rather than we go and display this value, what we have to do here is, rather than we go and display the static value, here we have to display the selected record name. So to do that, what I am doing here is I am getting the selected record name from here. Dot, what is the property for the name? That is the selected name. Rather than I go and display the static value, I am just populating the dynamic value. After that, I do have the button, and again under the button, I do have another SVG icon. So again, I am removing this SVG icon from here, and again using the same lightning icon. So again, this time I'm just copying it from here and putting it here. Now here, again, what kind of size that they are expecting? They are not putting any details about the size here. So let be the size as same for now. We will see if we have to change it. After that, the next thing that we have to do here is we have to go and use this time the icon as close icon. So this time we have to use the icon name as utility colon close. Utility colon close. And I'm just commenting this SVG part. Okay, so we are displaying the selected record as well. Right now, the next thing that we have to do here is, for example, if the user go and click on this cancel button, then we have to remove this value, and again we have to allow the user to display the value. So what we have to do here is, as soon as user clicked on this icon, we have to perform some operation where we have to clear the selected record. So what I am doing here is, here I am again defining the on click handler, and I am putting this on click handler as the removal selection handler. Okay, so again I navigate back to my JavaScript file, and here I go and define the third method, that is the removal selection handler. Now what I am doing in this method here is I am making the what I have to do here is I have to go and clear the selection So to clear the selection, again the same thing, what we have done here, we have to do the exact same thing. We have to do the exact same thing. So here I go and perform the this dot selected record operation, and I am clearing the record. Okay, with the display options, I believe it will be false only, but for the safer side, I will go and just again initialize this to false. Actually not required, by default it will be false only. I'm just doing this for the safer side. Okay, let's go and deploy this and check this functionality. So my code is deployed successfully. So here I go, make a refresh. So initially this is coming up. Now here I go and perform the search AN. I am getting the 2 records. I am selecting 1 record, and you can see we do have these options available here. Now here if I go and cancel this, again I can go and enter the another record. For example, here I can go and put AK. Again I am getting the selected records here, and I can go and perform the removal from here. This is how we can create the lookup component. But as of now, we have not make this as a generic, right? As we have to make this component more generic, what I am doing here is I will expose all these properties to the app builder. To expose these properties to the app builder, what we have to do here is first we have to go and define here the API decorator. We have to expose this property to the app builder, and for that we have to go and define this as an API. My API name, it will be exposed. My object label, again it will be exposed. My icon name, again this will also be exposed. So there are 3 properties that I have to expose to the app builder. So on the JS front, we do have to only make sure that we are specifying here the @API decorator. Now the next thing that we have to do it here at the XML file level. Again, we have not studied in detail as of now the XML file. When we go and talk more about this, definitely I will deep dive into it. But for the time being, just try to understand the way we do here is we go and define the target config here. And under the target config, we go and define the target config where we want to expose this, where we want the object to be configured or the properties to be configured on the target config page. And what we have to define here is we have to go and expose few property. So here you go and put the property here. So what all the different properties that you have to expose? Now let me go and split the screen. So I have to expose the first property as the API name. Again, the type of the API name, it will be text. So here I go and specify the type as string. Again, in my scenario, it is mandatory to set the value. So I am defining this value as true. Default value, in case the admin missed to default, set the default value. I am putting this as an account, and also I am putting the label for the admin that enter object API name. Okay, only thing that you have to make sure here is this, the name that you are specifying here, this name and this name must be exactly same. Like this, I go and define the multiple properties. The next property is the object label, required true, and here I am putting the enter object label. And in the end, the third property is the icon name, and here I go and put the enter icon for object, right? Might be admin does not know how to do that, so I am adding the description for the admin. Check SLDS to for more info on icons. Okay, this is how I am making my component more generic. Now here if I go and deploy this component, there is one more thing that I want to do here is, if you go here, you can see that we don't have any background to our component, right? So let's go and add some background to our component. Generally we do this with the help of lightning card, but this time let's do this bit differently. We will do this with the help of SLDS. So to do that with the SLDS, what we have to do here is we have to go and add this SLDS classes from the themes. So again, I am doing the same thing, navigating back to the HTML and adding this theme here. So on the top, I'm just putting this background. Let me go and deploy this. Let's go here and try to configure the properties this time from the app builder. So again, I'm clicking on the edit page. Let me go and remove this and add this component one more time. So here I go, and the component that we have created here is the custom lookup. I'm dragging and dropping the component. Now you can see here, these are the different properties that we have exposed: object API name, object label, as well as the icon name. For the icon name, we have not put the correct default value. So let me navigate here. I'm putting the correct default value here as the standard account. Okay, that's fine. We can directly go and change it here as well. That's one and the same thing. Okay, so we have also added the description. You can see that we are getting the description here. Check SLDS for more info on the icons. Right, we have make all these properties as required. Now you can use this component for the different type of search. Let's say here I want to perform the search for the contact. So my object API name is contact. Again, the label that I want to give here is the contact, and the icon that I want to give here is the standard, let's say contact. Okay, I again want to use the same component, and this time I want to use it for the opportunity. You can see we have created one component, and with the help of one component we can perform the multiple search. This time I want to perform the search on the opportunity. The label that I want to give here is the opportunity, and the icon name that I want to give here is the this time let me give the custom icon, custom 14. Okay, let me go and click on save now. Now here if I go back, you will see that we do have the multiple lookups available. Here I can go and perform the search on the account. For example, here I go and search the account. Here I go and search the contact, and here I can go and search the opportunity as well. Right? This is how you can create your own custom lookup with the help of Lightning Web Component. In case you guys do have any question, please let me know in the comment section or in the chat box. I hope you guys got some learning in this mini project. There are different things that we discussed. We discussed the concept of debouncing. We discussed how we can use the SLDS classes provided by the Salesforce. We also discussed how we can use the reactive variables. We also discussed how we can make the more generic components. I hope you guys like this session. In case yes, kindly let me know in the comment section, and also make sure to hit the like button and the subscribing the channel as well. Thank you folks. Have a good time. Happy weekend. Bye bye.